Hey guys, it's yours truly, Musicalist here.
Hey, subscribers, it's Ethan here.
Okay, so we are back with our first update video of 2024. Possibly our last, depending on what happens this year. But we're here to give you an update on some of the projects that are coming, but mostly to talk about the best of all time. So, as you guys know, I have been delaying the project multiple different times, especially because of the corruption that happened earlier in January. So, I have been hard at work since, but me and Ethan want to give you a couple updates on some things related to said project before we talk about other stuff that we're working on. So, the first thing I want to mention is that I apologize for keeping you guys on your toes. I know a lot of you are probably patiently waiting for this video, but I promise you it will be worth the wait. My first goal is to get it out before the summer.
Yup.
Why before the summer? For two reasons. One, just because when something hits, it's gonna be a little harder to catch up because we'll probably have loads of gaming launches, news, and announcements. So yeah, we got lots of stuff to worry about.
Yup, and not only that though, the what's going on we're doing too. Well, at the time when the laptop like this one just got corrupted, so now we had to restart over again in our progress. And there's some good news though. We already got at least up to 2 parts already on the recordings,
Yes,
but we're not completely done yet.
yeah, we still have to record our part with Jart, but we're holding that off until we finish until we get part 2 out. So yeah, but the second reason why we're not doing it why we're trying to get out before the summer is because, in particular for me and Ethan, that work starts to pick up for the summer. So me and Ethan are gonna be a lot less active on the channel during that period, as many of you have noticed. So during that time, there's going to be little to no chance of me working on any big time videos outside of maybe a couple I know we're going to do throughout the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, don't expect our plan is to get this part 1, at least part 1, out by this summer.
At least for later, you guys will figure out what will happen with part 2 or also part 3. But I'll say this though: what's gonna be interesting in the best of all time this time? Well, as you guys remember back, like where the Gold Gamers or all the names were in the past in this channel. But we used to have like up to like more than 1,000 subscribers at the time. But now this is different. Now, this time, we're going to put some little changes this time. Back then, we used to do our own best whole time. That was no gameplay clips, no fonts in there, none of that. It was in there at the time.
It was pretty much just a straightforward best of all time list.
It was all just a face cam at the time.
Yeah. We still did write down our choices, of course, but we didn't do a very good job explaining. So we made some changes for this particular one. So after me and Ethan did our initial recordings for part 1, and since I had to redo progress anyways, I did save the clips, thankfully, so we don't have to re-record. But me and Ethan did notice that some of our clips in particular, we didn't do a good job explaining these games.
Right.
Now, you could probably say, but that's kind of a little bit, if you know us for a long time, you know that sometimes we do struggle with explaining certain things. But I will say in this particular case, content-wise, we did, like, legitimately, I feel like we just didn't do a very active job. And when we look back at our first part for the recording, I noticed that mine and Ethan's, at some games we weren't really good. So that's why we decided to go back and replay some of those games just so we could explain it a little bit better.
not just that, we also do have to do a little our own research just in case, as not just replaying.
Yes, agreed. So we decided to go back, do some research, and we replayed the games. In addition to that, for certain games, not every single one, but certain games, there will be gameplay clips that will show up on the side of us, and it will showcase what the game is all about. So that way, you guys have a little bit more of a context on what the game looks like.
Yes. And the game so far that what we have on our list at the times, there may be some games we remember back in our childhoods. There may be some modern games, or we recently just got into it. So, and think of it this way: this is gonna be our best whole time list. It has to do with what our hearts is at, why we love these games so much. Basically, just like all the other YouTubers out there, they rank their own, like, top 10 or top 20 best games of all time. Because they might do their own expression of why they love it so much. Or they say just because, well, they just grew up with it and well, to be honest with you, this has nothing to do with why people love it so much. There could be some games like, I don't know, like underrated games like, Let's put a little example. Like, what's a better example? Maybe I'll just give it one little example. Like one of the F-Zero games, for example. That's underrated. So, yeah, I just try to explain what I was talking about.
I think I can help give a better example without spoiling either of our lists. Fishing Resort, a game made by Pope, who's one of Sonic's original creators, helped out with. They made Fishing Resort. It is a very underrated title, and if we were talking about that game, we would show gameplay of that on the screen.
Yes, and I know people out there may not know about it. Well, this is your chance to see why we're talking about it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, of course, depending on how long our gameplay clips are, because I am going to be cycling through the footage during the video when we're talking about it, we might post those gameplays onto the channel later on after part 1 goes up. But no promises. We might just do a full script of that. So that being said, don't expect every single gameplay you see in the video. In particular, for my list, the majority of those games are stuff that a lot of you may or may not have already seen on the channel. So yeah, very few of those are going to be going to get new gameplay videos. Well, with the exception of Sonic Generations, because of Sonic Shadow Generations coming out later this year. But that's beside the point.
Yes. And I'll do say, though, as for my side of things, if there's like a game like, well, I'll just put it this way. I better not just record all these games that I remembered to the channel just yet until whenever part one's done. Then I can probably go ahead and do it. But next 2 and 3, I will save it for later. Just because I don't want you guys getting ideas what game it is. You guys want to be surprised, so we can't give away any hints. Sorry.
Indeed. Another thing to remind you is, as this video is recording, this is all the games that me and Ethan have played, had cultivated and played up to 2020 to 2023. Any game that comes out this year in 2024, or that we play this year in 2024, will be in our honorable mention, possibly be in our honorable mentions if we really like it. But other than that, they will not be on this list. We will save that for a future best of all time if we decide to revamp the list at another point in the future.
Which we don't know exactly, but this is just an example.
Exactly. So just a heads up that everything that you'll see in terms of pre-recordings, and even when we do our third part with Jart, it's going to basically be everything from 2023 before. Nothing from this year will make that list. Now, of course, Now, of course, if Jart wants to include stuff that has come out this year before we do part 3, that's fine with me. But for me and Ethan, already cultivated the list, and we pretty much got everything locked down. So unless there's a real big game that really changes my and Ethan's minds, and we both decide to agree to change the out of the list, then me and Ethan will talk about it. But other than that, do not expect anything to change.
Yeah, so I hate to say this, but these are the lists that we already said before in a previous update. This is like around the time when our games had to be between way beginning of the gaming towards to 2023. We promised ourselves these are going to be on the list. Unless if we turn out to like these games came out this year, then it's going to go honorable mentions. But don't expect it's going to be on the list completely.
Exactly. Now that being said, there are quite a few of you that are wondering what about the worst of all time, which I announced in the Media Maniacs Direct is also coming out this year. Once we get all 3 parts done for the best of all time, me and Ethan will start working on that one. And that one's probably going to be 10 times easier because there's literally only 40 games between the two of us. We have 20 each that we really do not like. So worst of all time may still come out this year depending on what happens.
Yeah, we don't know exactly, so we don't have any estimate date just yet because we're still working on part 2 and 3 later after part 1 comes out. So
exactly,
don't expect it too soon.
Exactly. Oh, another thing we should mention is that me and Ethan actually went back and re-recorded some of the places where we didn't do a good explanation of. So just a heads up, there will be some clips from the initial recording, but there will also be some new clips with newer footage with more current setup with our green screen, because the prior setup was my old green screen, and now that I got a new one for Christmas, it's probably going to be with the new green screen. So just a heads up about that.
Yup, and another thing too, there's one more thing to say. If there's like a games, like if we put it like a PSP or any handheld games, well, outside of Switch is a hybrid console, like between home and handheld.
Yeah, so that's the exception to the rule, but pretty
much.
What
me also say too is that we don't have anything that we can record these games through handheld systems. So more likely, you might see some screenshots as we explain it.
Instead. Now, of course, if the game obviously has gotten a modern day port, and we own said port, then of course we'll show footage of that. But other than that, do not expect most of the modern day, most of the handheld games on either of our lists to be on there.
Well, gameplay wise, yeah. What mostly could be possible would be screenshots.
Yes. Now, again, if the game has got a modern day port, which in the case of both of us is probably not going to be a lot of our games, then we'll show footage then. But other than that, do not expect that. And this goes for any future list we go in the future too.
Yup.
Now, of course, if by then I do get my 3DS capture card in some point in the near future before part 2 and 3 come out, then that will obviously be the exception, and I will record gameplay of those games for the video. But that could happen that might not happen this year, so just a heads up, that might happen too. But like I said, anything is possible this year. But thank you so much for being so patient, guys. I promise you part 1 will be worth it. And then going forward, me and Ethan will be sure to take feedback into account that you comment on the videos as well as other stuff as well.
Yes, and we're also doing our best to cut the video a little shorter. It just depends on people don't want to watch because it's so long. I understand, but we can't make any promises for every part, though. Well, because we have lots of games we put down on our list.
Agreed. For the future, of course, we'll consider cutting down our best of all time to maybe a smaller number. But for the time being, I think 50 is a good round number to at least start, and it's more than what most YouTubers usually do.
Yeah. So, well, this is gonna be different for everybody. So I hope you guys look forward to what we're gonna have sooner or later. But we'll give you updates if there's any corruption problems or anything. MC will pretty much give you updates what's going on.
Yep, expect either another update like this or an update on the community page if you guys want to hear any news regarding the best of all time. But that being said, while you guys are patiently waiting for us to do the best of all for the best of all time, as I mentioned earlier, we did launch a brand new series just as of this video's recording called We Visit, which basically is us going back to underrated titles or not so much talked about titles from the Wii era and playing them. I am going to do the same thing with GameCube in the future. In fact, I was going to get around to that sometime next week. But depending on what happens, and I still need to come up with a name for said series, that probably won't be a little while. But We Visit will feature games that a lot of people have not either talked about or have not known. However, of course, like I said, any Nintendo, as I said in the description of our first video, which is up on the channel now, the exception to the rule is no Nintendo titles unless it is extremely not talked about. Mm-hmm. To provide an example, I don't think I need to point this out, but just in case, what I consider Nintendo popular is basically if it has some level of substance of popular talkability, even in terms of like mods or community or speedruns in general, then I consider that a game that doesn't really need to be covered. I will make exceptions to the rule, or if a lot of you demand to be covered, then I will do it too, but I don't plan to cover any of those titles. The series is strictly for some of the licensed and underrated titles that really don't get talked about or are kind of stuck on the Wii at the moment.
Yes, and let's get one more mention about the soundtracks of what we see in the games.
Oh yeah, for the best of all time, we should mention that too. Okay, so most of the games will pretty much have their soundtracks. Most of the popular ones or bigger choices on our list.
Mm-hmm. But I'll say this though, if there's any licensed music that could give us a copyrights, then unfortunately we'll have to give a little generic music, as MC will probably put down. And if there's like a soundtracks like the popular games, I'll just put in one little example, okay? Like ours, that's popular, so you'll hear that. So I'm just wanted to throw it out to mention that we need to talk about.
Exactly. Now, for some of the underrated titles on the list, if I really can't find the soundtrack, I will also be using generic music, but I should be able to find a good chunk of, I already have like a decent chunk of them already ready, so I'm not too worried, but yeah, that being said, most of the games should have music in the background, but depending on which games those are, yeah, it could take a while. But that being said, I am excited. I am excited for you guys to hear some of these soundtracks too. So yeah, and even did explicitly mention some soundtracks in certain parts of both Part 1 and Part 2. So be sure to take a listen to that.
Yup. So we'll get around to that. I just want to mention that now. If we're already done talking about the best of all time, I do have an update myself to talk about.
Go right ahead, bud.
Let's say, if you guys are wondering, hey, when am I slowed down for Final Fantasy VII Remake parts? Don't you worry, guys. I'm ready to hit a game while I get the chapters and parts ready. But for right now, we're just taking it little steps at a time to get all these parts out. We don't want to post them all in one time. Just try to give it at least several days or several weeks to give it at least time to time to keep you guys rolling on the playthrough. So, as a fact, I got good news for you. I'm almost done with the parts for playthroughs, so stay tuned for the next part coming after this update. And if you guys are wondering, hey, what about Project Wrench? What's that all about? I will say this though. I cannot say much yet, but I'll say this. It might be after the playthrough I'm doing right now, and I'll announce it later on. So stay tuned to that.
Couldn't have said it better myself, buddy. So yeah, that's a bit of an update of what's been going on behind the scenes, guys. Guys, I apologize that there hasn't been updates on the best of all time in Edda projects, but I promise you that in 2024, as a lot of you guys have noticed, woo boy, it's been a heck of a roller coaster so far. And if next week, in terms of what we've been hearing rumor-wise, is anything to go by, of course we won't talk about it here, but next week is probably going to be another roller coaster of emotions, huh, bud?
Oh, worse. Way worse. That can really hurt the Civic fan base. I can't say what it is. It could hurt mostly to some fan base out there. Just a warning.
Agreed. It's not all bad news. We're also rumored to get some good news from a certain company next week, too. But like I said, it's going to be a heck of a roller coaster next week.
Well, that's because right now, rumors are start spreading, and people are now expecting this. We can't say what it is. I'm telling you now, we can't say what it is. But I'll say right now, God heavens, I hope this is not true. That's all I have to say.
Agreed.
So, anyway, honestly, we'll just have to say this right now. Let's wait and see. And when it's official, then we can start talking about it.
Agreed. But yeah, that being said, for both me and Ethan, I do want to mention all this. We probably, the best of all time will probably not be coming out this month. Me and Ethan have both decided that it's just way too busy between releases, and I only got a new release next week for a week with Mario vs. Donkey Kong. So just between this and all that other stuff, best of all time will definitely not be coming out next anytime this month. We'll use this month to work on this video, but there's just too many major releases that I feel like the video is going to get slammed in the algorithm and not get noticed.
Yes, so expect part 1 might be around before summer. Like, just say the timeline might be the best estimate, we'll put it this way, may be between March or May. Or March to May, I should say.
Yes, that is the best estimate of when we will get it out. Because currently, at least as of this video's recording, there doesn't seem to be anything major that me and Ethan have to worry about in terms of games, movies, or shows. So I think we'll be good. But other than that, yeah, don't expect the best of all time to, be out so soon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that being said, I wanted to be transparent with you guys. Me and Ethan actually talked about this last night, about doing a video, letting you guys know what's going on. So I figured out, it's been a while since we've done an update, so yeah, I think this was a good one. But that being said, hopefully we'll have some other content for my non-gaming fans soon too. We are talking behind the scenes on what other stuff we could do in the future. But yeah, just stay clued and all that. But
yeah.
All right. Well, that's all for now. This is yours truly, Music Clues.
Ethan signing out.
And y'all have a nice
gaming day.
See ya.